Hello everyone, welcome to Learn Wireless Technology. So it's been very long since I uploaded the last tutorial. Due to continuous work and a lot of other responsibilities, it gets very hard to make regular videos. Anyway, I will try to take some time and try to make more tutorials and post them regularly. So let's continue with our learning. So in this tutorial, we will discuss the OFDM technology, which is one of the most important concepts in LTE. OFDM is a transmission scheme used in LTE cellular technology, which is one of the major factors that improved the performance of LTE in terms of data rates and spectral efficiency. So let's discuss the principles and features of OFDM in detail. So these are the topics that we'll be covering in this tutorial. We will start with the introduction to OFDM, then we will discuss the difference between OFDM and conventional FDMA, OFDM signal representation, orthogonality, radio propagation of OFDM signal, cyclic prefix, challenges in OFDM, then OFDM versus OFDMA, and OFDMA versus SC-FDMA. We'll be talking about all these topics, so it's going to be a bit lengthy tutorial. So if you want to skip to any particular topic, then you can jump to that particular timestamp, which you can find in the description, and watch that part. So OFDM stands for Orthogonal Frequency Division Multiplexing. It is a form of frequency division multiplexing technique that uses large number of narrow band closely spaced subcarriers to carry data. Now LTE uses two variants of OFDM in the downlink and uplink. The downlink transmission scheme for LTE is based on OFDMA, that is Orthogonal Frequency Division Multiple Access, and the uplink transmission scheme is based on SC-FDMA, that is Single Carrier Frequency Division Multiple Access. SC-FDMA is also referred as DFTS OFDM, that is Discrete Fourier Transform Spread Orthogonal Frequency Division Multiplexing. Both the transmission schemes are based on the principles of OFDM. Now, the basic principle of OFDM is that the subcarriers carrying data-bearing signals are closely spaced in frequency domain. The frequency spacing between the carriers is chosen in such a way that orthogonality exists between them, despite their close spacing. It also eliminates the mutual interference between the signals, which are carried on different subcarriers due to orthogonality. So, the intercarrier interference is also eliminated using OFDM feature. And since the OFDM feature allows the subcarriers to be closely spaced without any interference, there is also no need for the guard band between the subcarriers, which would be necessary in case of conventional FDM system. The main benefit of this feature is that a high spectral efficiency is achieved. OFDM also provides robustness to multipath fading, and it also supports in eliminating intersymbol interference. Now, this is a representation of characteristics of an OFDM system versus an FDM system. So, as you can see in the OFDM system, the subcarriers are overlapping and closely spaced. The overlapping carriers increases the spectral efficiency since large number of subcarriers utilizes small space in frequency domain, and the orthogonality between the subcarriers that is offered in this system helps in mitigating the interference. And if you see here in conventional FDM system, the subcarriers are non-overlapping. They are separated with sufficient guard band to minimize the interference. So if you compare the two systems, the difference is clearly visible as how the bandwidth is utilized more efficiently in an OFDM system due to tightly packed carriers for transmitting data, whereas the FDM system uses guard bands between carriers which occupies more bandwidth for transmitting the same amount of data. Now let's see how an OFDM signal can be realized in time and frequency domain and how orthogonality is achieved between the OFDM subcarriers. So each OFDM subcarrier or OFDM symbol is a simple rectangular pulse of duration Tu as represented in this figure. The rectangular pulse in time domain corresponds to a sync-shaped spectrum in frequency domain as seen here. Now the frequency domain spectrum shall have a zero crossing every delta f or 1 upon Tu, which defines the subcarrier spacing. So this is the fundamental principle of OFDM. that each OFDM subcarrier symbol is a rectangular pulse of duration Tu, and the subcarrier spacing delta F is equal to the inverse of the symbol period, that is 1 upon Tu. So this ensures that for a specific subcarrier in frequency domain, the zero crossing for adjacent subcarrier coincides with its center frequency. This is how orthogonality is achieved. Let's understand this technique in little more detail. So this is a set of OFDM subcarriers. Here each subcarrier is separated from its adjacent subcarrier by a frequency spacing of delta F, which corresponds to inverse of symbol period Tu. Each subcarrier has a center frequency indicated by F1 through F5. Now assuming that each subcarrier has equal symbol period, there will be zero intercarrier interference at the center frequency of each subcarrier. It basically means that when a particular subcarrier is sampling at its peak amplitude, the adjacent subcarriers will have zero amplitude, as you can see here. This is how the intercarrier interference is effectively eliminated. Now, if you want to represent this in terms of an equation, then let's consider two adjacent subcarriers, x1 of t and x2 of t in time domain with non-equal center frequencies during a time period ntu to n plus 1 tu, where n is an integer. So when this equation is satisfied, it means that the orthogonality is achieved between the two subcarriers. So with this feature, the adjacent subcarriers can be placed close to each other without any interference caused, which helps in achieving high spectral efficiency, hence saving lot of frequency bandwidth. So this is how the orthogonality works using OFDM method. Another useful function of OFDM is that it can send single data stream in parallel streams of transmission using these multiple subcarriers. Hence, a high data rate is achieved in OFDM by allocating a single data stream in a parallel manner across multiple narrowband subcarriers. Now let's talk about the radio propagation of an OFDM signal. As you know that a transmitted radio signal follows multiple different propagation paths over the air before reaching at the receiver. The signal can either follow a line of sight path, that is a direct path, or a non-line of sight path, that is an indirect path. Mostly the signal follows a non-line of sight path due to a lot of natural and man-made objects, structures and obstacles in between the path of a transmitter and a receiver, which causes the signal to get reflected or refracted. In such cases, the cellular system might face lot of problems arising related to signal propagation, which is referred as multipath effect. In non-line of sight scenario, multiple copies of the signal may arrive at the receiver at different times with different intensities, phase offsets and delays. These multiple versions of the same signal may constructively combine or destructively interfere with each other. When the signal is received with a significant delay, and if the delay spread is greater than symbol time, then it gets difficult to extract the original information, which causes intersymbol interference or ISI. So ISI is a poor effect of LTE system caused by multipath fading, which affects the LTE performance by increasing bit error rate and reducing the achievable data rate. Now different cellular technologies use different methods to mitigate the multipath effects. Technologies like FDMA and TDMA uses equalizers to minimize the multipath effects, while CDMA uses rake receivers, which combines multiple copies of received signals and results into one strong signal. In case of LTE, it uses OFDM technology, which is tolerant to propagation channel delay spread. It can resist the effects of multipath fading and can eliminate the intersymbol interference caused by multipath. So let's see how it is done. Now we just saw the effects of multipath on the propagating radio signal. It causes intersymbol interference on the received signal, which may cause the signal to lose its orthogonality, and the delay in received signal caused due to multipath also causes the symbols to overlap with each other, which may lead to discarding of the symbol by the receiver. Hence, there would be loss of data at the receiver, and the receiver will have to request for retransmission. So to mitigate this issue, OFDM uses something called cyclic prefix. Cyclic prefix is inserted within the symbol, which helps in maintaining the orthogonality of the signal. Let's understand this with the help of a diagram. These are the three different scenarios of the signal arriving at the receiver. The first one shows the signal arrived from a direct path, and the second and third one shows the signal arrived from a reflected path. So in the first case, which is the direct path, the received signal is free from any interference from other subcarriers, and there is no intersymbol interference. This is because of absence of multipath that the signal is not getting affected and received properly without losing its orthogonality. Now in the other two cases where the path followed by the signal is a reflected path, there will be effect of multipath radio environment on the received signal. The orthogonality between the subcarriers is partially lost since the symbols are received from reflected or delayed paths and they overlap with the adjacent symbols. This issue is addressed by using cyclic prefix. So a cyclic prefix is nothing but a small portion of the OFDM symbol at the tail end which is copied and pasted at the beginning of the symbol. So considering the duration of effective symbol time as TU and the duration of cyclic prefix as TCP, so after the insertion of cyclic prefix to the effective symbol, the total duration of the symbol increases to TU plus TCP. At the receiver, the integration is carried out over the original symbol time TU. Now, it is necessary to select correct cyclic prefix as this may ensure that the multipath components from previous symbol falls within the effective guard time at the start of each symbol, which can be discarded. This helps in avoiding intersymbol interference and preserve the orthogonality. Also, while choosing the cyclic prefix, the channel dispersion characteristics should also be considered. Now, when a long cyclic prefix is selected, then the signal has the potential to cover a large range of channel delays, but at the expense of efficiency, since long cyclic prefix would mean reduced number of symbol carrying data. And when a shorter cyclic prefix is selected, then the efficiency is increased, but this would also increase the chances of signal getting distorted due to multipath components. So this was all about the advantages of OFDM technology that provides high spectral efficiency using closely spaced subcarriers. It offers robustness to multipath fading and eliminates intersymbol interference using cyclic prefix. Now let's discuss about the challenges that comes with OFDM. So the most significant challenge, or you can say disadvantage of an OFDM system is the relatively high peak to average power ratio, that is PAPR, as compared to the typical single carrier systems. High PAPR is generated by adding large number of subcarriers. The instantaneous power can vary largely within an OFDM symbol, resulting in the requirement of power amplifier with a large range of linearity. So, due to high PAPR, the power amplifiers have to operate with increased backoff. This greatly impacts the achievable efficiency of the RF transmitter and the cost is increased. Now, while considering the factors such as amplifier size, cost and power efficiency for downlink transmission, that is at E node B, these factors are less critical. But when the same is considered for uplink transmission, that is at UE, then the cost and efficiency are of prime importance, since the cost of UV must be affordable and battery life should offer acceptable performance. Hence, the high PAPR is acceptable for downlink as it can be handled by the E node B, but it is a serious problem for uplink due to large variation in power that leads to reduced efficiency, and UV, which are battery powered devices, would be less efficient to handle this. So it is really unsuitable to use the fundamental form of OFDM as an uplink transmission scheme due to high PAPR. Now the fundamental requirement for a UV transmitter is low complexity, limited transmit power and low cost. And to achieve these characteristics, a different form of access technique can be used known as SC-FDMA, that is Single Carrier Frequency Division Multiple Access. SC-FDMA, also known as DFTS OFDM, can be used to achieve a signal with smaller power variations. It offers similar characteristics as OFDM and also provides resistance to multipath fading along with flexible frequency allocation. Now let's understand one thing here, that we have been talking about OFDM throughout this tutorial. OFDM is a multiplexing technique or a modulation technique as we discussed. Now there is a slight difference between OFDM and OFDMA. OFDMA is a multiple access scheme that utilizes OFDM technique. Multiple access technique, as we know, allow the network resources to be shared between multiple users. The description that we saw till now on OFDM defines that the subcarriers are assigned to a single user during each subframe. But in OFDMA, however, multiple users can be assigned different subcarriers during same subframe. Consider an example where 100 subcarriers are available for allocation to users. So using OFDMA, these 100 subcarriers can be allocated to different users at the same time within a subframe as indicated here. This is possible due to the multiple access feature provided by OFDMA that uses OFDM technique. This figure provides a graphical representation of the difference between OFDMA and SC-FDMA. In this example, for OFDMA waveform, 4 subcarriers are used over 2 symbol periods. Each subcarrier occupies 15 kHz bandwidth and has duration of 1 symbol. The subcarriers are modulated using QPSK modulation, which means each subcarrier carries 2 bits of information. So with 4 subcarriers over 2 symbol periods, with each symbol carrying 2 bits of information in parallel, a total of 16 bits of information is being modulated for transmission in this example. After each OFDM symbol, a cyclic prefix is inserted, which is the end portion of the next symbol that is copied and pasted at the beginning. The cyclic prefix is displayed as a small gap in this figure. Now, if we look at the SC-FDMA waveform, only one carrier is used. This carrier occupies 60 kHz bandwidth, which is 4 times the bandwidth occupied by one OFDMA subcarrier. Now, since the SC-FDMA signal has more bandwidth, the symbols can be transmitted at rate 4 times higher. Hence, 4 symbols of SC-FDMA can be transmitted in the same time duration as that of one OFDMA symbol. So, the clear difference between the two access schemes is that OFDMA transmits the 4 QPSK data symbols in parallel, one per subcarrier, while SC-FDMA transmits the 4 QPSK data symbols in series at 4 times the rate, with each data symbol occupying a wider bandwidth, that is 60 kHz. So, as seen in this example, the time allowed for 2 OFDMA symbols is sufficient to transmit 8 SC-FDMA symbols. And since each SC-FDMA symbol in this example is modulated with QPSK, it can carry the same amount of information that the OFDMA waveform can carry, which is 16 bits. So, to summarize the concept, OFDMA signal is multi-carrier with one data symbol per carrier, while SC-FDMA signal is a single carrier with each data symbol appearing as one wide signal. In OFDMA, it is the parallel transmission of multiple symbols that creates high PAPR, which increases with increased number of subcarriers for wider bandwidth. While in SC-FDMA, where the symbols are transmitted serially, occupying the same bandwidth as OFDMA, but having the PAPR same as that used for original data symbol. So this was all about the concept of multiple access schemes in LTE, that is OFDMA and SC-FDMA. Thanks for watching.